Hi everyone, Nina here with Waffle Flower. I hope you're as excited as I am about the Stitchables. In this video, I'm going to cover some very basics about cross stitching. We'll be experimenting the number of threads to use on the Stitchables. I will share 3 ways to start your stitching and a lot of beginner tips. Hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll feel confident that you can do it too. If you're already a card maker or paper crafter, all you need to start stitching are needle and thread. I prefer DMC threads. You can also get threads that's a lot cheaper on Amazon. This pack is $10 for 50 colors, but I can tell a difference. My first impression, I don't know whether the camera will show it right, because DMC threads does have a nice sheen to it, and the other one doesn't. But if you don't think it's a big problem, that's totally a very cost-effective way to get some threads. I also like the DMC threads because they have a numbering system and they're pretty much consistent. So if you run out of a color, you can always go and get another color. So that's one of the reasons I'm sticking to DMC threads. And for all the patterns we're going to share, we're going to have a suggested DMC color number below. Some of the very well-known branded names like Anchor and Cosmo in Japan, I think Anchor in Germany, they all have kind of like a converting chart to tell you which color to get for each brand. We'll be sticking to DMC threads and the DMC colors. I actually get a full set from the official DMC website for $250, something around that range. So I have every single color of the DMC threads. And then we need some needles. If you're new to stitching and don't have a lot of needle sizes, I recommend getting this pack of 18 to 22 needles. So they have 2 each of the 3 sizes. In the needle numbering system, the bigger the number, the finer the needle. So 20, 22, and 18 in the middle. One thing important is to remember to get the tapestry needle. This is the one that has a blunt tip and kind of a longer, bigger eyes so that the threads will go through very easily, and very blunt tip so you don't poke yourself. So tapestry needles, very important. Of course, you can use any other needles you might have as long as you'll go through the holes. But for best user experience, use the tapestry needles number 20 to 22. That's what we suggested on our website. We also suggested using 4 to 6 strands of floss. What does that mean? Let's do some experiment. I'll be using the little square tag die from the Stitchable Squares die. Can you tell how many crosses are here? The correct answer is 16. When you cross stitch, you will need 4 holes for 1 cross. The crosses next to each other will be sharing holes. Remember to have all your crosses stitched in the same direction. There are 4 rows of 4 crosses. We're going to stitch each row of crosses with different strands of thread, starting with the first row to be 2 strands, second row to be 4, third row to be 6, and we'll finish with some number 5 pearl cotton from DMC for comparison. Let's get started. Some people prefer to have 6 strands of threads because they think, oh, I don't need to take any strands out. I can just stitch it as it is. But you actually need to take all the strands out and then put them together. And how to keep them fluffy is one of the kind of like the goals you want to achieve. The next question is, how long should you cut your thread? The longer the threads gets, the longer you need to put every single one of them out. That takes time and it's too tiresome. But if it's too short, that means you have to stop, trim the floss, thread your needle, and then go over again. And the start and stop always takes time. So I found a good balance is about 24 inches. So when I fold it in half, I'll only be having 12 inches to stitch. And then when I have the one that I'll be starting, I'll just have this little thread. That's kind of like a very comfortable length for me to pull and go back, pull and go back. So about 12 inches working length. Okay, so we'll need to separate our threads. So here's my 6 thread, like with me playing with it. It's already starting to untwist in the beginning. So you take one strand, hold the part where they're still together, and take one strand out. Just gently pull. And these two fingers has to be holding the rest of the threads, and just keep pulling. Don't worry about the part that's accumulating right here. They can be easily straightened out. Okay? And we just straighten it out. And I will take 2 strands. So this is my second strand. Take it out. Now we have our 2 strands. We'll put them together end to end. This is how we're gonna use to stitch our first row. So thread it through. It doesn't matter which end because they're just basically the same at this moment. I will share a couple of ways to start your stitches. Let's do the traditional, supposedly a very beginner-friendly way first. That is, to start with a knot in the end. If your knots are too small for the hoe, that means you're not using enough strands. So go ahead, do that, and we'll cut it off. So for me, I know I usually go from bottom left to top right. Then bottom right for each crosses when I'm saying. So when you do that, okay, when you see the back holding the starting line in, so this will help you. Once you're finished, you can just trim off a little knot here and it will not get loose. So if I'm just doing a single cross, I'll just go ahead from here to make one cross. But in cross stitch, to save your time, we can always do one row at a time. So we'll go ahead, do the second cross, do the left side of the second cross. Try to have even pressure around them. When you're getting closer to the knot, you have already stitched to hold the thread together, so you can go ahead and trim the knot off. And then continue to finish. Now we're going back to finish our little crosses. See how I use my fingers to hold the needle when I'm switching hands? Okay. I will go ahead and fast forward the parts that are just simple repeats. Now we have finished with our first row with 2 strands of floss. To finish it, I always try to do from top down, left to right. So I want to finish my last stitch to the right. Just go back through the holes, 3 or 4. Go through the holes. So for this reason, if you like to put tight on your threads, you'll probably want to switch to a number 22 needle, because your stitches might be too tight for the number 20 to go through. But for me, I know I have kind of loose hand, so I got enough. You can trim the thread off. I can even fluffy my front by going back with my needle and kind of go through all the little crosses to kind of fluffy them up a little bit more. Okay? Now let's do 4 strands. So we could just continue to bring the 2 ends together to have our 4 strands of floss, but I'm going to show you a little trick to make it a lot easier for stitching later. If your threads look like this, that's making it hard to go through the needle, totally trim off a little bit. 4 strands of threads with a loop on its end. This time I'll go ahead and start from the bottom left of my cross, leaving the little loop, kind of hold it the top right, go through the loop, and then pull. See how the loop is holding the thread for you? Okay, kind of pull it tight, hold on to it, and then continue. to finish, then continue to finish your crosses. Going back. See how you can already see the difference with 4 and 2. And then I'll go ahead and finish this row. With a loop in the end, and I'll be stitching the 6 strands. Save the little loop, okay. Go through the loop, tighten it by going back and forth. I can feel there's more friction when pulling the 6 strands through, but not too bad. It kind of has a satisfying feeling too. Okay, finish it off. See the difference? I think I like the look of both 4 and 6, but because 4 is so much easier to go through because I like a bigger needle, for the bigger needle I settled on 4 strands. But you can totally do this little exercise yourself and decide for yourself. For the last row, I'm going to use a piece of pearl cotton, this number 5 pearl cotton, and I'm going to thread it through my needle. You cannot separate the threads on the pearl cottons, so this is what you get. And I think it's about equivalent or maybe in between 4 strands and 6 strands, so it's about 5 strands. So for these, since we won't be having a little loop, here's how you start it. You can either tie a knot to go, or since we already have some stitches, this will be my first line. So what I'll do is I'll go from the other end of my stitches that I already did. See, this is very tight right now, so hold it. Okay, so now when I come down, I can go straight to my first stitch. Makes sense? So we're actually going backwards to the front so it can come out from the front. This is our first stitch. Okay, so then finish it as usual. So if you're using pearl cotton, I would say use a number 20 needle. It'll be a lot harder to try to get through number 22. Yeah, I think this is definitely an in-between size of 4 strands and 6 strands for me. I guess that's why it's number 5. I have no idea. Don't take my word for it. But this is number 5 pearl cotton by DMC. I don't think they have as many colors as the regular 6 strands floss. Oh, so one more thing to know is when you're going back to somewhere you already stitched, try not to go through the in-between stitches because that will give you some weird look. So always try to just have it done yourself. This is so fun, people. I could do this all day. Okay, all right, let's finish it. Same way. Another way to test whether you have pull to tie or you want to use a smaller needle. All right. A cute little exercise to find out about your favorite strands of threads to use. I hope you are now more confident than ever to start cross-stitching. I look forward to do more videos on the Stitchables. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. To celebrate the release, we're having a blog hub with lots of inspiration on the blog, Instagram, and Facebook. They're linked in the description to this video. Each card is a labor of love. Be sure to leave some common love along your way for the giveaways. I shared 5 reasons why I love the Stitchables, and I hope you'll share your thoughts with me on the blog or in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you again soon.